Morning, Justin. Good morning, sir. Noam, good morning. Thoughts on AIP? Let's take a peek. Well, it's just too illiquid of a name. This thing only trades, 3 million bucks a day on average. Yesterday, obviously, a nice little pickup in that, but it just has got to establish itself above the 200 simple moving average better, right? It's coming off of a move where it lost 50% of its value. It's trying to creep its way back above the 200, but nothing here yet. Let it get above and then let it establish above itself the 200 simple moving average. The one that caught my eye, that's a cheaper name, Jarmo, is shoot, I'm blanking here. Cheap name, APPS. Right now, that is a move on big volume. Right, and you notice how it was already trending above the 200 simple moving average. You're like right here for AIP, maybe. Right, like let it really continue to show you some strength. Doug, good morning. Yeah, happy FOMC day. Yeah, ARM looks a little bit better. It's kind of like it's not the best semi at the moment. There are better. Like you have ARM, but CRDO acts better. KLAC acts better. New high. That's way more bullish. LRCX acts better. I mean, there are multiple names that act better than ARM. TSM, AVGO. So I like Snow, but it's kind of a slow mover. But I do like this base. ADUR. Yeah, thin one too. Recent IPO. Not a terrible trend. What do I think about CG? Let it establish itself above the 200 simple moving average. ESTC did the same thing a few weeks ago. right? It's a beaten up name, comes into the 200 simple, it's not above, and then all of a sudden beaten up again, right? Like let it get above the 200 simple moving average. And even then, guys, and if it's in a big downtrend already, right? A name like Sedge, tries to get above the 200 simple moving average, and then all of a sudden the next day getting killed again. So, when they're in downtrends or coming out of big downtrends, you're not missing anything. If you just let them get above and established themselves above a long-term moving average, right? It takes a lot of the guesswork out to determine if they're in uptrends or not. Oh, very cool. Yeah, apps, big volume. DNN, the uranium name, nothing. It's a laggard in the space is what we can learn. DNN is a big time laggard. Think about a name like CCJ, how it's out at a new all-time high multiple times over. I mean, and then compare that to a name like DNN in the exact same uranium group. It's a laggard big time. It put in its high last May, a year ago. CCJ in May was way back here, 58, 55, 56 bucks. It made a new high the time after that, and then made a new high this time. DNN, not saying that it can't go, but it couldn't even make a new high in November like CCJ, and then, again now it's lagging way behind the group. Yeah, him's, starting to look a little bit better. Him starting to look a little bit better. Oh, happy we got tomorrow off. That's for sure. Ah. Yeah, I mean, you got Fed day tomorrow, so it's good to just be careful with that. It's good to just be careful. Yeah, AEM's a name I like, but these are gold dependent, right? So you're going to want to see gold acting well. AEM looks definitely interesting. Daily looks fantastic on this. We don't know if it's going to go, but it looks pretty dang good. NEM's been the leader. Yeah, day off tomorrow, Fed speaking today. I would be cautious at least until the Fed speak. And then, sometimes you get like the initial reaction and then you get the reaction to that reaction. And then usually it's like the next day, where the real reaction happens. So it's like, it's just good to be patient here. Make sure you're focused on stocks and leading groups. That's the most important part. Charts with tight consolidations to allow you to manage risk from. Reddit, I did not like the action yesterday, but super volume was coming into this thing. Right? Big volume right at the morning push. And then, I mean, it would have been awesome had this thing closed like 143, 142 even. ON for a short. Yeah, maybe on semiconductor. It depends. Depends how strong semis are going to be. Semis as a group have been really strong. So, pick on a different group. Pick on a group where there's been weakness. Names that I talked about in the Discord were MMYT back here when it was establishing itself below the 200 simple moving average while the market was going up. I've also been talking about GEO, and this one's now breaking the 200 simple, right? It's like this thing went down in middle of May when the market was going up, and then the market was still going up and this thing was going sideways. That was a horrible look. And then, below the 50, consolidating after a move down on earnings, that's never good. And then LTH was another one. going down on earnings early May. Stocks that go down on earnings, especially when the market's going up, you pay attention to them for when the market starts to see distribution. Those are your laggards. And then the inverse is true. Stocks that go up on earnings when the market's going down or sideways, those could be leaders. So, really important to remember that. And then, this name broke down early May. While the market continued to push higher, this name went sideways and then eventually started to lose this kind of low here. And it was, pretty much nothing else to it. Just continue steady rollover. WGS, very similar. Right? Again, a big breakdown while the market had effectively bottomed already. This is, first week of May, end of April. And then while the market's been in an uptrend, this thing's done nothing. I mean, what do you think could happen to a name like this? The stock used to be a whopping $1. Who knows? Looks like stage 3 distribution to me, unless it gets over its 200 with tons of power. KTOS also went down on earnings. Yeah, it did, but above all key moving averages, and then didn't stay down. Remember, the market was okay. So there's a big difference here, right? The difference is that KTOS in a week or 2 weeks was making highs above that earnings, right? When you look at something like LTH, it was going down, the market continued to go up, and then this thing went sideways, right? A KTOS went down and then immediately went out to go make new highs, right? So tennis ball action. You want to pay attention to stuff like this, right? Because even a Spotify went down on earnings right here, and instantly got bought back up. Market was in an uptrend, right? And then look at what this thing's continued to do. CrowdStrike went down on earnings, but guess what? Got instantly started to get bought back up. And why? The market was in an uptrend. If a stock is still strong, it should be in an uptrend when the market's in an uptrend. When a stock is ass, right, it'll just go sideways when the market's in an uptrend. So huge difference there, man. We should not compare KTOS to LTH or GEO. They're not even close to the same. Yeah. And again, what we have to remember too is the market has been choppy and in an uptrend. But the key there is in an uptrend. So if this name's going to gap down on earnings below the 200 and then just start chopping around here, right, while the market's in, you would expect this thing to start trying to bounce its way back, right? Even a Pan W, when the market was in an uptrend, Pan W did what? Gap down on earnings. But what did it do a few weeks later? Well, because the market's in an uptrend, started to bounce right back. And within 10 days, had that earnings gap already filled and off to a new high, right? That's because institutions are buying this, right? When they're not buying it, it'll go sideways when the market's going up. So thought I'd throw that out there. I don't consider, A-Lab's a bit of a laggard, but I do like the setup that it's posting. I think it looks pretty good. Needs to get going over, $98 with some juice. What do we make the fact that KRE? KRE, those names have been in their own uptrend since March of 23, since they bottomed. Could you give me a few regional names? I can't really think of too many off the top of my head. QB is one. Oh yeah, this thing's in a huge base. OUST extended? Yeah. Yeah, this thing's extended, but it's hopefully flagging up again. Really nice volume coming into this thing. Just needs to go sideways here. It's doing the right thing. It's not doing anything wrong. I don't plan on doing too much today. Yeah, I don't plan on doing too much today. MTB. Let it establish itself above the 200. Guys, if you guys are asking me about charts and you don't stick a 200 simple moving average on your charts, I'm going to tell you guys the exact same answer every single time for the remainder of humanity. Unless MTB is one of the 10 best companies in the entire world. But I think I know what you're talking about, James. I think you were talking about the KRE. So I apologize. I know you weren't talking about these as long as I got myself confused. So just want to clarify myself. Yeah, my bad, James. Yeah, I mean, it's KRE. It kind of looks like it's below the 200 after a really nice uptrend. I mean, I don't really know what to make of it, to be completely honest with you. It doesn't look all that great unless it were to be above the 200 simple moving average versus something like a JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs or Bank of New York Mellon or even a Schwab. But yeah, MTB, James, it is not looking nearly as good as some of these others. And it's not that I would initiate a long here on JP Morgan. It's like I need to see momentum coming out of this base. And the problem is this name is damn slow. Moves 1.5% per day. ARQQs too extended, makes no money, speculative. Could it keep going? For sure, but I don't know about this stock, man. The only thing I like about it is the volume coming into it. Not something I would buy up at 33, 34 bucks today. No chance. I like EAT. I own it, but it's just not really moving. I'd like for it to go, but we'll see. Ah, yeah, EAT looks all right. Shack looks okay. Cake with a recent high. You know, this thing just kind of continues to just trend and grind higher. So the food stocks look okay. Wing looks like it's, shaping back up. It's just digesting here, but super nice move. Wonder how like a Chipotle is looking. Yeah, not really looking at all. What else do we got? Food stocks. Oh yeah, DRI. They just had earnings, or they have earnings coming up. Yeah, this thing's been in a steady uptrend. Yeah, there are some that look really good. APLD, really nice accumulation volume has come into this thing. it hasn't, it's down quite a bit off the highs. I don't know, but no big volume on the way down, so doesn't feel like there's been big sellers. The news that CoreWeave dumped the last of their shares, maybe not the best news. I feel like if more banks followed the Silicon Valley bank model, they would have already gotten kind of exposed with the ones that, went under in 23. AMSC, yeah, I mean, this thing was just on a really, really steady move up. The offering doesn't seem to have affected it too much. It's now hanging out right on the ascending 20. Looks pretty good if you ask me. You bought some AXON? I don't see the setup. You bought AXON yesterday? I personally don't see the setup here. It's just in a range, right? You're just buying it above the 20. You bought it below the prior day's low. I mean, I'm sure it could keep going higher. I just don't see the setup. It's like you didn't really buy momentum. You just bought a stock that's in an uptrend, which is a good thing. But your better entry was here on earnings or using this spot as a high volume close. So taking the close and buying the close. 686.83, right? Or, like a 5-minute opening range break. Axon, otherwise, you're just like Axon's almost 6 times its average true range from the 50. Like I said, it just feels like a random spot. That's like if you'd have just told me you bought Netflix, you just bought a name in an uptrend, just because, which is fine, but apps had a hell of a day yesterday. I wouldn't worry about all this overhead supply. This was a long time ago. Stock built a nice stage one base. All the biggest volume bars are bright green. I mean, could it easily, retrace? I'm sure it could, but yesterday 559, I talked about this right before the open in the room. 559 was a good spot over the after hours high, and then right from there, super powerful, up $2+ already. So looks good. Yeah, I'm a little bit weary about a HVC setup there, and secondly, it's already gapping up above that level, so just be careful. My thoughts on snow: I like snow. I just think it's super slow here, and I don't look at this setup and think to myself, explosive behavior, right? Like this doesn't look like a chart that's just going to continue to explode higher. I'm sure it could, but it's just choppy here. It's just choppy. Needs like a better contraction. Hims is looking better. Hims is finally looking a little bit better. Not going to hate on Hims. Yeah, I like take two as well. Again, I just look at this setup and it doesn't really scream explosive. I mean, maybe, likes to come out of these sideways consolidations and make a quick little move and then digest and a quick little move and then digest and, maybe a little move to 250 or something. I don't know. Just doesn't look super explosive with take two. I like Dell a little bit. I like this consolidation.